Hey everybody, welcome in. Today I'm going to start trying to do tomatoes into 10-pound grow bags. I've done it in buckets before in the past and they've done pretty good, but I decided to try it one more time just because I'm running out of room with everything I'm growing. So I figured, you know what, let's just grow some tomatoes into a pot or a grow bag like this, and that way I can just move it around anywhere I like. So if I don't like it somewhere, I can just pick it up, put it where the sun is, and just let it grow. Some of the options that I decided to choose, I chose the aroma because I do love the aromas. I'm able to make sauce out of it. I'll put it into my salads. It's kind of a really diversified kind of tomato. There's a lot of things you can do with it. It is a determinate, so I don't have to worry about it growing as much into a grow bag like this. I will stake it in the near future just in case. Maybe with a cage or some bamboo posts or anything like that. But one of the things I wanted to stick with on the tomatoes is either a determinate or something that might just grow kind of small. I also chose the cherry tomatoes. I like to be able to put cherry tomatoes next to any kind of gate or any kind of where we walk through. That way I could just sort of pick them up and grab any kind of tomatoes, grab the cherry tomatoes for a snack or anything like that. I do like to cook with them. I'll saute with them, or I'll put them in salads and stuff like that. But I like to have cherry tomatoes just so I can have little snacks, just like I will do with sugar snap peas or anything small that I feel like, I'm working hard. I want to be able to have a little snack here and there. And the third one I decided to choose is a Goliath. It is a compact bush Goliath, so I don't have to hopefully worry about it getting too big. But I wanted something compact and that was designed for pots. That way I feel like it won't overgrow the bag. I will stake it like the rest of the tomatoes just in case, but I feel like these are my three favorite ones. I've got the aromas for the sauces and salads. I've got the cherry tomatoes for snacks around the garden, plus I'll saute them or put them in salads too. And I got the bush Goliath that I want to try for like my sandwiches. I love to have a nice juicy tomato on a sandwich. But yeah, these are three that I chose to do. And so I'll grab the 10-pound bags. I fill them up with potting mix almost all the way to the top. And I will add fertilizer. What I like to do is just give a nice even 5-5-5 or anything close to that, just so it's an all-around fertilizer nutrient mix. Sometimes I will add like a blood meal if I feel like in the beginning to help it grow a little bit faster. They will grow a lot of leaves and they will need that fertilizer to grow that in the beginning. So I might add that a little bit later, not too much later, because I don't want just green growth on all my tomato plants. I want tomatoes. But and when I grab the tomatoes, I will snip off any kind of little bottoms here, just anything close to the bottom. The little needle things on the plant will grow roots, so I can bury it as deep as I want to, if I want to, or I could just bury it close to the soil, to the top of it. If you're growing outside, I would recommend just going a few inches down where the soil is nice and warm, and it will grow. It will grow just fine like that. But in a pot like this, just because I'm not quite sure how big it will get in a pot like this, I will just snip off as much as I can. I thought about snipping off this one, but I think it will be just fine with about this much kind of buried in. And then I will just put these in. Now, on a cherry tomato, this one's a little bit rough. And I don't usually like to snip too much because I like to have as much cherry tomatoes as I can. But I don't want them touching the soil, because if they touch the soil, they could get some kind of disease that splashes up from the soil. Even though I will put a straw mix on top, so that way it reduces the splash onto the plants. But I like to get them as far as like this. This one's kind of drooping down, kind of close to the soil, and I'm a little afraid. I could stake it up, I could tie it up. I figured I might as well snip them now, and then that way, hopefully later on, I don't have to worry about it as much. I might keep checking on it to make sure there's no other suckers that will grow, or that it's not getting too close to the soil. And you just want to be able to just break it up a little bit. Anytime I'm breaking up the soil, I like to be a little bit gentle. The tomato plants are kind of sturdy, so in my opinion, so they will take a little bit of roughness, and I will plant it as deep as I can without having the leaves touch the soil. And if I plant it a little too deep, the leaves do touch, I can either lift it back up and plant it a little bit less deep, or I can snip another one of these off. They will grow a lot, so I don't have to worry about as much in the beginning of snipping, because they will grow. And the bush Goliath, it is very small, so I feel like a lot of these leaves might touch, but I will just get as much of these as I can. And I want to be able to have as much airflow as I can through the plants, because if there are too many leaves, it will just like cut off any kind of airflow and oxygen that comes through, and then that's not really good for the plant either. You want to have airflow just coming through, and that way it'll prevent a lot of things happening. I'll plant this in here. So on the tomatoes, I like to plant in very deep, full sun. And what I'll do is I'll put it in a place where I think it'll have full sun. If I have the chance to check throughout the day to make sure it stays full sun, I will do that. But if not, I'll put it somewhere where I think it gets full sun. If it turns out that I was wrong, at least on these, I can just sort of pick up and change the place to a different place that might get better sun. If I'm planting in the ground, for me it's like a one-shot thing. If I put it in the ground, I probably won't move it. I'll probably just hope for the best, maybe take the loss, or hopefully that they will overcome it. But that's what I like to do for the tomatoes. Like that. Make sure that it is. And you can even, if you feel like you can, you need to add more soil to the top to make sure, to get as much of the roots as possible to grow, you can do that. But I like to just do it once and just sort of leave it alone. And then also later on, just keep giving it consistent moisture. You can drown a tomato plant where you give it too much water and the nutrients won't flow up to the roots. So I like to be able to just soak it in all at once in the beginning, maybe soak it again afterwards after I put the plant in, and then as I go along through the season, I will just sort of stick my finger in and see if it's moist. If it's moist, I usually will leave it alone. If it's dry, then I will just add the water. One thing to the grow bags is they do let out more water compared to like in the ground or in a bucket, so it might lose more water. Well, it definitely will lose more water than in the ground, but so that's why I like to put it somewhere where it gets more sun, but also where it's just convenient. If I put it too far away, I will never water it. It feels like after a long day's hard work, you want to water, but if you gotta go halfway across your lawn just to water a plant, you'll probably decide, I'm kind of tired, I won't do it. So I like to have it as convenient as possible. That way it's a little bit more easier on you, because not just growing vegetables for food is one of the best things you could do, but convenience is right up there. If you don't have your plants as convenient as possible, then a lot of times, we all get overwhelmed during the day and night. So you want to be able to just be able to come out here, kind of enjoy your garden, listen to a podcast or whatever you want to do, and just be able to water it and just check on your plants and just see how they grow. And if you add a little water, that's great, but you don't want to become too overwhelmed, or you'll, like me, like I've done a few times, I've grown too many plants, become overwhelmed, and all of a sudden half of them are dying because I just feel like I don't feel like there's enough time in the day. So that's what I'll do here. And what I like about these bags is they got nice good handles here. Now sometimes I will just plant them right where they need to be, that way I don't have to keep lifting them up. For me it's okay. Sometimes you can get a little tiring, but I do like the fact that you can just sort of grab these handles and they're very sturdy, and you'll just be able to pick them up wherever you want to do. And I would just say, try whatever tomatoes do you like. Now, some of these are meant for container gardens, so a little bit more compact. But if you don't like that kind of variety, I wouldn't pick it. You want to make sure whatever you plant is what you like. You know, it's always good to try new things, but the majority of the stuff that you grow, you want to make sure that you enjoy it. And because that's another thing. If you don't like or enjoy what you grow, you won't eat it. And then there goes all that time. So you want to make sure that whatever tomatoes, even if you don't think it might do well in a pot, it might get too big, you can just, do a little experiment, try one plant, and if it works well, next season you just sort of continue and continue until you have as many of these grow bags or pots that you need. So thank you very much. Please like and subscribe if you like everything, and I will continue on the journey and see how these tomatoes grow and compare them to the tomatoes that I have in my ground and see which ones do better and go from there. Thank you.